Hi Jeethu, my name is Sudhir Srinivasan and I am the entertainment editor of the New Indian Express. I am the editor of Cinema Express. It is a pleasure to be able to have this conversation with you a few days after the release of Drishyam 2, which has, of course, come out to a lot of appreciation.
Thank you.
And, let's get right into the conversation as Drishyam 2 also, the opening scene gets right into the film. You had mentioned many years back that in an interview that you did not see a sequel happening. What changed?
Actually, after 2 years, around I think 2015, people started creating their own stories for the sequel, and somebody approached Viacom with this sequel story, and so my producer Anthony Perumbavoor asked me, "Why don't you think about the possibilities of a sequel?" Then I said, "Sir, I feel the story is finished. I don't think I can make a sequel." And he said, "Why don't you give it a try? If it is not working, just leave it. But at least you try." Then I started thinking about the possibilities, and it took almost 4 to 5 years to reach to the present script.
Right. I mean, it's fascinating that you mentioned this because the film itself is titled The Resumption. It is not said Drishyam sequel. It is not said Drishyam Part 2. It's almost like you're suggesting that after a rather long interval, we're watching the other half of the first film. And I find it very interesting because you were so convinced that the first film had ended and it was complete. And from there to begin treating it as one half of a film, wow, that's a big change entirely.
Actually, I think it's God's grace. Everything fall into place. And actually, when I started thinking about the sequel, I asked 2-3 questions to myself. Where should I concentrate? What will be the story? Anyway, one thing I have decided, it will not be a totally different story with the same characters. Okay, it should be a continuation. So when I thought about the possibilities of this thing and a sequel, my first thinking was, what all issues this family is facing now. They have involved in a crime. They are not professionals. Definitely there will be a trauma, a fear, because the police will be there will be a police investigation. So then I thought about the possibilities of their trauma and their fear from the police side. And of course, there is another important factor is their neighborhood, society. So society, what will be the reaction of the society towards this family? When the Drishyam 1 ended, everyone believed that George Uti and his family are being framed by Sagadevan. But at present, George Uti is made his life is flourished. He started a theater. Now he's thinking about producing a film. Obviously, there will be a thing called neighborhood envy, right?
Of course.
So people started creating stories, especially where there is a girl who is in her, early 20s. So her marriage is there. So these kind of issues came to my mind. Okay, then I thought, okay, I'll be concentrating on the family trauma. Okay, this is how I began.
There are a lot of meta aspects about this film, aren't they? I mean, at one point you talk about how his business is flourished and he started a movie theater, and it manages to find more meaning within the story. And beyond that, of course, the idea that this is a second half of the first film. That also again finds resonance within this story. I mean, in the novel that he writes. Talk to me about all these, meta commentary about such aspects and managing to not just bring these elements into your film, but managing to bring it even within the fictitious universe of the story.
See, in the first version, George Duty already communicated with the audience that he has said one of his dream was to start a theater, of course.
Yes.
So while thinking about this thing, okay, I thought, okay, maybe he can start a theater, but how he will find enough fund for this thing? In the first itself, the father-in-law is offering some land so that he can sell this thing. It's there, but still it's not sufficient to start a theater. And at that time, that Sarida Sabu idea came into my mind. So then this all things connected. So then I made it. I mean, then I decided, okay, George Duty will be selling a portion of their, the property so that he can raise some money. He can start the theater. So then I can bring Sarida Sabu into this picture. Everything started connecting. That's why I told you things are started falling in place. It happens. I can't say how, but it's coming into my mind, and then
because I think a lot of people are have really fallen in love with the writing of both films, and I think there's a lot of curiosity behind how Jeethu's mind works and how he is able to figure out such a story and how he is able to write so many layers into the story. So I mean, don't be brief about the answer. I wanted to ask you to tell me about your writing process. Do you start with one central idea and keep developing these layers around it, or do you look at it chronologically? How do you approach it?
No, actually, it's a very long process. I told you, it's a 4 to 5 years. It took almost 4 to 5 years. So my style of writing is always like that. At present, I have 4 stories in my mind. I'm working on it in my mind. And like this, I was planning 2-3 subjects parallelly, and Drishyam was also there. So I was thinking about all these kind of possibilities and placing the events in a rough order. And I was trying to make a opening, a start, a middle portion, and the climax. In between, I placed the sequence. Then finally I come up, with a frame of the subject. Then I took a paper and started writing the scene order.
Right. Okay. So until this time, it's all in your mind.
Yeah. And actually, in 2019, I was shooting Ram. Indian schedule is finished, and we are supposed to go to UK. So we came back to Cochin, and at that time, this lockdown thing started. So my plan was to finish Ram and start writing Drishyam. Okay. So in March, while we are all sitting, we are all stuck in our homes, I started writing the scene order.
Right.
Because the whole thing is in my mind. I will never forget this thing, because I usually visualize things. Every scene. If it is not connecting, I will delete it. I don't know. It works. It works with me. So I started scene 1, scene 2. It's a rough scene order. Once I set that scene order, I started rearranging the scenes, connecting it with this, connecting these scenes. Once that is set, that scene order is set, I kept the scene order as a reference and starting the final script version, including dialogues. There were so many ideas. Suppose I will give an example. In the beginning, the Joe's character, he was a robber in the very beginning. So I worked on that character. Then later I found that that character has no depth. It's just a normal robber. But I felt that the character should have identity, or he should have purpose. He should not be
an accidental observer who comes in.
And not only that, in that film, Joe's character is desperate. George Duty's family and George Duty is desperate. The police is desperate. The boy's family is desperate. And the interesting part is the George Duty and Joe's it's like a
mirror image, isn't it, in a sense?
Mirror images, or they're like traveling in a parallel thing, because he's fighting to keep his family intact, and Josie is trying to retrieve his family.
Retrieve his
Okay.
family, right.
Okay. So that's how things are, coming into mind. Then I will change that.
The way you're talking about the process, it almost seems like you're discovering it, not really inventing.
Correct. Because there is a lot of additions and removing few scenes, and sometimes I work first half in my mind, then it's not connecting, then I will just erase it. Then that kind of process is going on in my mind. Usually,
Right.
basically, the problem is I'm a lazy when it comes to writing. I'm very lazy, so I want to do the writing portion in the very last thing. So I have seen so many of friends who are working in the industry saying that, sir, Jeethu, I have written that first draft, then we didn't like it, we just removed it, and we started writing the another. I won't do that.
Right.
I won't do that. And
I mean, lucky for you that you're able to remember so much.
Correct. But I don't remember faces. I don't remember numbers. But I remember this. I don't know how.
Right.
So this is actually the final script. Actually, I wrote in 25 days.
Oh, okay.
I finished it in March itself.
So from what you say, what I understand is, from the outside, it seems like, Jeethu suddenly thought of an idea and probably finished it very quickly. And, there's a genius mind at work. And, but when, given your response, you're saying there's a lot of hard work involved in coming up with a script like that. It doesn't happen instantly. You're putting in so many years of work into a story. And that shows in those 2 hours.
Correct. Even in Drishyam, the first Drishyam, the idea came into my mind in 2000. I was not in the film field at that time.
Right.
Okay. Then I wrote the script in 2009 or 10 beginning. And I wrote it for my associate. It's not written for me, actually.
I see.
So it took almost 9 years or 10 years to finish to write the script of Drishyam 1. So this is how I work. At present, I am working on 4 subjects in my mind.
Okay.
I don't know. Maybe there are times when the particular subject I won't be able to develop. Then I will just leave it.
It requires a lot of emotional bandwidth also, no, from your mind, because you're constantly having to think about different objectives, different victims, different types of characters with different objective, purposes, and so.
Correct. Most of the time, if you talk to my family, they will say, my daughters will say, most of the time our dad is lost in thoughts, absent-minded. Every day I will go for a shuttle badminton. It's a refreshing thing for me. While playing shuttle, I will get some ideas. Maybe in Sundays when I go for Holy Mass, I will get some ideas. I don't know. Things are coming into mind like this. And last week after the shuttle badminton, I was just driving, and I just reached my house. Then my daughter was standing near to that car shed. So when I looked at her, she was just looking at me and smiling, because she saw me. I was whispering something. Actually, I was I was just saying few dialogues of particular subject I'm working on. Okay, this is how I work. So I cannot say that how you develop this only. There's so many things came to my mind. I deleted something, I removed few ideas. Then I put some new ideas.
But one thing is for sure, it definitely demands time. Time is a definite constant.
Correct. I need time, sir. I need I need time, because whenever some producers came to me and asked, sir, we need a subject. What I do is, sir, I cannot work like that. I need time. When I finish a script, I'll come to you.
Right.
So if there is a time frame, I cannot work.
When you're writing Drishyam 2, a film like that, what assumptions do you have to make of the audience? Do you assume that they will have seen part 1, or do you decide to cater to even those who may not have seen it? Because in which case you will have to make the potentially awkward decision of having like a dialogue in which you have to narrate the story of the first film, and that makes it a bit awkward in terms of watching it. And how do you make these choices?
Actually, I was pretty sure that everybody saw Drishyam first.
Right. Okay.
And I have one more. I have confidence that suppose when I announce Drishyam 2, definitely there will be a hype. There will be a hype in the social media. And if somebody didn't watch Drishyam 1, at that time they will go and watch it.
Right.
Because
Okay.
they wanted to see the
Yeah, they want to catch up. I think a lot of people who'd watched the first film also, again, I think, went and revisited the film.
Correct.
Yeah.
And actually, and one more thing I have decided, I won't be using any flashback shots in this thing to bring, to refresh.
Except for the brief visual of the first film right at the beginning, right?
Yeah, the beginning of that revolution sequence, where Jeethu is opening that page. It's actually, it's only that shot, only one shot is there.
A lot of people expected the second film to be a thriller, and I'm sure you also imagined that they would also expect it to be a thriller given what happens in the first film. And I think you very cleverly let it slip in a dialogue that George Clooney has in this film when he refers to this book, and he says, this is not a thriller but a simple family story, when he's narrating it to one of his friends in this film. Do you think that's the best way to perceive this film, so you don't constantly look for thriller elements and you just digest what's happening in the film?
As far as I am concerned, I have done only 2 thrillers, that is Memories and Body.
Okay.
This is, I believe that these are family drama and mystery kind of film. So that's why I told them this is not thriller. I was saying this from the very beginning, at the time of the first also.
Yeah.
And I did something I lied to the audience at one point.
You said there are no twists.
I told them no twist, nothing like that. Don't expect twist and like things, because I really feared, because see, when I thought about started thinking about this thing sequel, I decided one thing. I am not trying to make a sequel which is in the collection, in the box office level, which is equal to Drishyam. That's not my aim. What I'm trying to do is make a good film.
Right.
That's my intention. So I don't want people come to see this movie with a huge expectation and they get disappointed and say the film is not good.
Yeah.
So I really feared that. And I told Anthony, my producer, see, Anthony, I feel after watching the film, the audience is going to say like this. Yeah, it's okay. The film is good, but it's not like Drishyam 1. It's not up to that level. But we all are surprised that in the first day, the people are saying it's much better than it's above than Drishyam 1. I don't know how they think. Still, I don't know, sir.
I thoroughly enjoyed the existential distress of this film, of the family in the second film. I kept thinking about Dostoevsky's Crime and Punishment a lot while I was watching this film. About the difficulty of dealing with crime, even if you escape. Tell me about your understanding of the nature of, crime and guilt. Is this drawn from personal experience? Is it drawn from literature? Because this goes beyond just plot, right? This is understanding how humans function and how our minds are. What is the nature of sin, and where do you get all this, all these ideas from?
Most of them through reading, actually. It's through, and because that's why I couldn't. I could differentiate the type of fear in the four character. I mean, in the family. See, George Uti, he is scared and he is not showing outside. Rani, she is in total darkness because she doesn't know what's happening around her. Every time the police dig at some places, she is getting upset.
Yeah.
When she looks at George Uti, and George Uti is very calm because he knows that where he hide the body, it's not there. Okay. Yeah. And the main, the elder girl who did that, I mean, executed that, I mean, who did kill that boy.
Yeah. Anju.
She's in a serious trauma. She has some psychological issues and physical, I mean, health issues. And when it comes to the younger girl, she is the least bothered.
Yeah.
Because it doesn't affect her in any way.
I guess age saved her in a sense, right? I mean, how
Correct,
young
correct.
she was.
Yeah. And she's not aware, not that. See, she didn't kill anyone. She saw something. She conveyed it to the police. She has some guilt regarding that thing. And she is very much attached to his sister. She's upset whenever her sister is getting paranoid or,
Yeah.
Other than that, she is least bothered. So actually, that 4 different types of trauma or fear.
Right.
I think I read these kind of books regarding the crimes. I got these ideas from there. Then I discussed with one of my psychologists
Okay.
regarding this. That's how I
Is there
managed
any
to.
particular book of? Is there any particular literature that you want to recommend
No,
here?
nothing like
Nothing
that.
in particular, right?
Nothing in particular.
Right. This film takes a while to get going, in a sense, because you have to do a lot of setup work that will come in, handy later in the film. Today we have a culture of film criticism where people talk about the pace of different halves of a film. They talk about the first half is slow, but the second half is better. Does it disappoint you that a lot of people don't seem to understand that the first half is essential for the enjoyment of the second?
Yeah, because the problem is that they are not realizing it's working in the subconscious mind. We are showing the family. We are actually injecting with their, that family is fun. I mean, they're getting attached to that family. It's working in the subconscious mind, but they are saying they are not realizing the effect of that first half.
Right.
But I'm not worried about this thing as long as we are getting the result. The final result is very good.
Yeah.
If they are saying that the first half we have it's slow, we have lag, fine. You deal with it.
And what unfortunately is also the case today is because it has had an OTT release. I wonder if it will influence people to skip portions of the first half, something they could never do in a theater, for example.
I can't do anything for that, in that matter, because
I understand.
The kind of viewing. I mean, maybe there is one more reason when it comes to the second part. They all know that there is some thriller element is there. They want to know what's going to happen. So they are very desperate. They are impatient. There are people.
They're also desperate, like all these characters.
And you know something? There are one guy told me, whenever I watch these kind of suspense, what I do is I will go to the climax portion. I will watch it and I will come back. And he's enjoying it. I never enjoy that kind of this thing. So there are.
I think it makes a lot of people nervous not to know what's going to happen.
Correct. So that's a different type of film viewing pattern. Different people have different kind of the way of watching films. If they are enjoying, let them. But there are people who doesn't want to know anything about this particular cinema. They don't want to hear anything. They just want to experience at the maximum. The fullest form.
I was going to ask you, writing a sequel is one thing, but bringing together everyone from the first film is quite another. Did you have the guarantee that all of them would come back if this project took off when you were writing it? Or was that a challenge to bring everybody back?
No, actually, not everyone is in this picture. I removed Sagadevan.
The main characters, of course.
Yeah, the main, of course, they have to be there, right?
Yeah.
Sagadevan was not there because I can't use Sagadevan. Because he is the one who made this case sensational. He's slapped that little girl, and now he is under suspension. If there is a police investigation, even if he is in the service, the police will never put him in the case again because there will be a complication. There will be
correct. As it is, they're struggling with the case.
Correct. And then, of course, IG Gita Prabhakar, she is resigned and she went to US. So then I need a police, a senior officer who is investigating this for Geeta Prabhakar, a colleague. So I bought one or two characters and I removed one, two characters. Everything were these kind of characters were there in the very beginning thought itself.
Okay. And bringing together all these like actors like Meena and some of these other side actors together, that was never a problem for you guys in terms of putting the project together.
Yeah, because it's a kind of trial and error method. I will try different types of ideas put into this thing and keep on working with that particular idea. Then if it is not working, I will remove that idea, then put another thought into this thing. So whenever I put this kind of different ideas, a new character will come. Then if that idea is working, okay, we got a new character. Okay.
Right.
That's how I place these things. And finally, once that frame is done, almost all the characters are fixed.
The events of this film, of course, happened 6 years after the events of the original film. What changes did you have to worry about the world in which they're part of? For instance, I think this film has a lot of references to CCTV cameras, right? You probably did not have to worry about these aspects as much, or was that a big part of it even in one?
Actually, CCTV camera was helping me from the George Uti's angle, because he was observing with the help of CCTV. But I was worried when he started. So towards the climax, one of he's going to some place and doing some things,
and he's changing around something and whatever.
And I really scared that if there is a CCTV, things will be much complicated. So while discussing with the forensic, I went to the premise and I found, luckily, there was no CCTV.
Okay.
So now the question is, people are not ready to believe that
these places will be so much lax in security.
So I in an interview, I told them that I have discussed these things with my police and forensics, and this particular place you can go and see yourself. There is no CCTV. Now the people are very much excited, and now it's very viral now. Now people are starting asking the government why these places don't have CCTV cameras.
Right. The reason I bring up CCTV cameras is because in having conversations with other directors who made thrillers in recent times, they tell me that these devices have made it such a pain to write thrillers set in the current context. So you also agree with the difficulty of
correct. That's and there's one more change because in the first version, the George Uti is not buying. He doesn't have this thing mobile phone, because there is no network in his house and his office location. Now after 6 years, he has a mobile because the network is available there. So that kind of changes we have made. Other than that, in 6 years, what all changes can think. That's it.
Did because you're talking about George Kutty, did Mr. Mohanlal need a different brief about the evolution of George Kutty during this period, or was his earlier understanding of the character good enough to handle this scene by scene?
No, there is a small. I have made a small brief, and I told George Kutty that his special attention towards the elder girl, whenever he stands near to elder girl, he will always keep her hands. It's like because he has a special sympathy or special attention towards her, because she's going through a tough time. And even in the songs, when the younger daughter was asking for selected one particular mobile, and she wanted that, but he is saying, hey, this is very expensive, and he just put it like this. Gives it to her. That's that kind of small briefing I have done to and towards his attitude towards Rani.
Hmm.
Most of the time, he is ignoring Rani because
Yeah.
Rani is making a lot of small issues.
Correct.
She want to discuss about this thing. So that made Rani to more in a. That's why she is communicating with the other girl. She needs to talk about it.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
that I talked to Rani also. I told Meena also about. I gave her briefing like this. This is how the character is going. Now you are too much dependent on Sarida because you
Hmm.
are comfortable there. You are not
Yeah.
comfortable with George Uti. That kind of briefing I have done, and they are all very established actors.
Of
After,
course.
with the reading of the script itself, they got the basic idea.
Hmm. I asked you about Mr. Mohanlal because I think in a recent interview he also mentioned that he lacks the ability to truly understand the nature and the mind of George Kuti.
That's because in one drinking sequences, uh, while he is with that other character, the security character,
Yes.
while he was drinking, while we were shooting that particular scene, he asked me, "Is George Uti is really drunk or he is acting?" And I told him, "Sir, to be frank, I don't know." Yeah,
Fine.
because I don't know. Because even okay, I created George Uti, but I don't know whether he is. I am confused.
Hmm.
So that's why he's saying that even I don't know who is the
Hmm.
real George Uti.
Hmm. 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 In films like this, right, where there's a big twist and it makes you look back at the events of the film in very different light. It seems to me that there is a big challenge because in the first view, when we're watching the film first, you have to sell this deceit with the performances of these characters. You have to make them feel like they're not pretending to be something else. And then when you look back after the twist, the performances should again make a lot of sense. That yes, they were being deceitful even while they're acting. I spotted small body language differences in the performance of, say, somebody like Sarita. When I watched the film again, I could see those small glances that she gives, those small, behavioral changes that she does, which give away that she's pretending to be something else. How did you work out these bits when you were shooting this?
Actually, I see for Sarda's character, Sabu's character, I sat with them and I discussed this is what I want. Uh, in, the audience should feel that okay, they are a genuine, normal couple, but you can bring small police kind of mannerisms, kind of look. Usually, the police have a kind of look, and even while Meena and her daughters are coming after the mass from the church. They saw Sarida is washing clothes and he was sitting there, Sabu.
Yeah.
And Sabu is giving a look, this kind of look. Actually, it's a villain kind of look. He doesn't like this family, But there is another angle is there. Even
Yes.
in front of the tea shop, Giorgio is coming out of the tea shop, and this guy is standing outside and bargaining about the sale of this thing. And after he is gone, he is just looking at him like that.
Yes.
Yeah.
Mm.
So
Mm.
we have discussed this thing, and since they are all very good actors, they could pull it
Yeah.
off.
Because I really hate films where, in those portions, if those actors were actually behaving in a genuine way to only mislead the audience to buy the twist. I really dislike those sort of films where it's clearly manipulative and they're acting out of character. And I was saying that I also enjoyed that Sarita seems to have a bit of conscience about, taking advantage of the trust of the George Kuti family.
Yeah,
I
because
found that very
it's
interesting.
it's been 2 years, and she's been, uh, you know, she's almost very close to that family, especially Rani. And Rani is trusting her with her life. After getting so close to Rani, um, Sarida might have realized what really happened in her life, and she is a she's a lady, right? So she's a woman. So what happens is she has a kind of, she came for a purpose. She has a duty to perform. She has as a police woman, she has no, she's on a job actually.
Of course.
But at the same time, she's as a woman, she has some compassion. She has some, this thing with Rani and her family. So when they are really in trouble, her, she has a guilty feeling in her.
Yes.
It's working in her mind. Actually, in the very last shot, when Georgiouti is coming out of the court, and Georgiouti actually is looking at Sarida and Sabu, both of them are standing here like this. Once Georgiouti passes them, at first I thought maybe there is a small smile. I wanted a small smile in her face,
to communicate relief,
so that
right?
she's relieved that he's scot free.
Yeah.
But later I thought, I discussed with my ADs, I thought, end of the day, she's a policewoman, right? And let her keep it like that. Let's not go to that level of this thing.
Right.
Okay. So that's why I told her, I don't need that smile.
Jeethu, how much did you have to understand all these complicated processes? Once a body is found, how do the departments function? Can police people go underground for 2 years and be in different character in terms of bugging a place, tapping phones? How important was it for you to truly understand the reality of how these things happen? Or are you allowed to take a lot of creative liberties with these things?
Of course, I will take creative liberties, but at the same time, I try to be as realistic as possible. Okay, because when it comes to my films, people crazy looking for the logical issues.
Right.
See, it's not fair. So many people have so many. They're taking liberty like that. But what they are saying is, okay, many people do this kind of things, but in your films, we can't accept logical issues. So that's why I'm taking a lot of preparations, lot of homeworks. I have a lot of friends in forensics, police, because my first film itself is it's an investigation movie. So from that day, from that time onwards, I have friends in the police and forensic, because I need to take.
You need to understand the system, right? Yeah.
I understand the system, how it works, and especially in this case, I really thought that once that skeleton is they found the skeleton, they will take directly to send it to the Trivandrum Rajiv Gandhi Institute for the DNA purpose. But later I realized that that's not how it works. Actually, it's sent to the local police surgeon. They were there. They will have decide the gender, the age. Then only they will send it to this thing. So I need this kind of, and at the time of, they are digging the police station, and usually when a crime happens, the police is making the report.
Okay.
Here in this situation, the police has no role at all. RDO or Tahsildar is writing the report. They should write the report, and there should be a DYSP present at the at the particular location. So I gathered all these kind of information. Then I put it in the script, and it helped in another way. It's a information for the audience.
Right. Absolutely.
Many of them doesn't know these things, so they liked it. At the same time, they all were they have.
They need to first check out if it all matches.
No. The main problem was there, the way the forensic is taking that bones. They're putting it in a cardboard and that cardboard box, and taking it to the office. So many people ask me, are you sure this is how they are taking? I told them, this, yeah, I already checked it with. And while discussing with the forensic, I asked him, so what's your duty as a forensic surgeon? Uh, he told me that I'll be waiting there till they find the bones. Then what you will do? I will sit there. Maybe most of the time I will be sleeping. That's why I put a shot that he is sitting there in the chair and
Yes.
sleeping. No.
Yes.
So what I'm trying to do is, when a police surgeon or a policeman watches this film, they should feel that, oh, okay, they have
This
managed.
happens.
Yeah, they have managed. Almost they made some. He did some homework. They have managed. If they feel that these are all blunder, then they will start writing in the
Correct.
books,
Correct.
Facebooks, and all those.
So, which brings me to another question: do your police sources get a bit annoyed that you constantly show them being outwitted?
I don't know. Anyway, I have a lot of friends in my police, and they are all enjoying the. What they are saying is, many people are ready to take it as a. It's a end of the day, it's a film, right?
It is. Yeah.
So they are all ready to take it as consider it as a film.
So nobody comes to you with the worry that hey, Jeethu, stop giving people so many ideas to escape.
No, so far nobody came to me. I don't know. It's only 4 days, right? There's still time.
Earlier when speaking about Mr. Mohanlal and you understanding the mind of George Kutty, I wanted to ask you this as a writer. George Kutty may seem like an ordinary man, but he's a man of extraordinary intelligence. Tell me about the challenges of writing a fictional character who's supposed to be more intelligent than you are. How do you manage that? As a writer, you have your limitations of how much your mind can work, but you still have to sell, like Conan Doyle sold Sherlock Holmes to us, something like that.
I don't know how to answer this question, sir. But see, in the first, his source of information was films, right? So in the first, actually, I used the films. What I was trying to communicate to the audience, that George Kutty is getting these kind of ideas from films. From films. Here also, actually, we already established as George Kutty as an ordinary man with the extraordinary,
yes, intelligence. Yes,
intelligence. So in the second, I have I have a feeling that it's already been registered. It's already registered, right? So now whatever George Kutty will do will be accepted by the audience, because they already know that he's an intelligent guy, right?
Yeah.
So but I wanted him to use the film, this thing, right? That's why this time I put him as a producer who is making films, but he has another plan in this thing, and how it is coming into my mind, I don't know. It just happens.
Yeah. I
don't know how I'm able to.
It's okay. I won't press you on it and explore that.
Because I cannot say that. I don't know how it just happened.
Yeah.
Writing, this idea came into my mind. Suppose he's going to produce one movie. He's making stories. Then the book idea came into my mind. It just came to me like that. I don't know.
Yeah. How differently would you have treated this film had you known that this was always going to be an OTT release and not a theater release?
No, not at all. Actually, we have decided to give it to OTT after December 19th.
Okay.
We finished shooting, and at that time the background score work was going on. So actually, there isn't much difference. Only that interval point maybe I will do in a slightly different way. Of course, the same the short pattern will be slightly different. That's
okay.
Other than that, if I was shooting this movie, knowing that this is going to be an OTT, still I don't know. I don't think I will. Maybe some wide sequences I will reduce, a little more tighter shots. I will concentrate. I will be work like that, because when it comes to television, the wider scenes, it will be very difficult to communicate things. So in television, we need a little more tighter shots. And of course, in the tea shop scene, you might have noticed I put one very big wide where whenever Joss comes, he is talking here at the same time.
And
Another
there's a bunch of
conversation
people
is,
sitting there
and
and
he's
talking.
overhearing. He's
Yeah.
overhearing. At that time, my plan was to, because I thought it was in theater, right? So my plan was to, if Joss is standing in the right side corner, their conversation will be in the right side. Speakers, and the others, the one who sitting in the left, their conversation will be in the left speakers.
Right.
This was my plan, but when it comes to television, I have no option. So this kind of things I will change those things.
Yeah. Slightly, I want to get a bit philosophical here. Both films, in a sense, talk about selfishness, right? Of a person, how we are all driven by selfishness at the end of the day. George Clooney especially. And the biggest addition in this film, of course, as you mentioned, is the thief character, who is also obviously driven by a lot of selfish motive. He doesn't care about what happens to
George. Selfishness or self-preservation?
Self-preservation. Fair enough.
Because they are basically, even Joe's, George Gutti, that boy's family, the IG, they are not bad people, right? They are all basically, they are good, of course. When it comes to personal things, they all wanted to,
protect what is their own, right?
But the problem is, if you're saying like this, then we'll have to use the word selfishness.
Exactly.
But it's a self-preservation, right? When you think it in another, George Uti is doing this not for him; it's to protect his family, right? Even Jose is not doing it for him. He want to lead a decent life. You want to be with his family. Is it selfishness or self-preservation? I don't know. What do you think about that?
I suppose, if you're saying he did it for his family, but I guess then the question is, he's still doing it for himself because it is his family. He's not doing it for somebody else's family. He's not putting himself in the line of fire for somebody he doesn't have personal investment in. So I suppose it does take us to
maybe. Complicated area. I don't know.
Moral territory. Yeah.
Correct. Yeah. It's a perspective. It's all depends on the perspective. If it is, different people have different kind of ideas regarding this thing. Some people say it's selfishness. Maybe some other will say it's self-preservation. I don't know.
Yeah,
I'm also a little confused there.
I understand. Now, it brings us to the character of Geeta Prabhakar, of course, who was his nemesis in the first film. But in this film, of course, she doesn't have as big a part to play. Neither she nor her husband. They come in and they have cameos. Given that they are victims in this film, in both films, in a sense, of course, they're not the only victims, of course. I wanted to ask you to tell me more about this choice of giving them, in terms of their screen time. Was it ever a consideration to have them play a bigger part in this film, or it was never that way?
I think if I give more screen space for them, I think the drama the drama will be more in this film. I don't want that, because the investigation, anyway, we have to work on the investigation area, and they are standing behind the curtain, and she, not Prabhakar really wanted just that body for that the final ritual thing, and he doesn't want them to be punished, or he's basically a good man. But Geeta is not like that. So if I bring Geeta into the picture, the problem is then I have to show her emotions, her fury, everything. So that will change the whole dynamic. I don't know. So I thought always kept them in the backside. Once they landed and we realized that he is associating, he's working for her, or he's he working for IG is working for his colleague. Then the audience is realizing the whole thing was they were in the planning also, right?
Yeah.
So even if they are not in the picture, they were there, right?
Yeah. I mean, you're saying their presence is haunting the film anyway.
Yeah, it's there actually, but I don't want to bring them early, or I want to give them more space. I thought it will. I will have to put more drama into this film. Maybe it won't. It will. I don't know. It will be like a normal film where the villain kind of characters in one side, and
Right.
So that's why I tried to minimize their presence.
As we are nearing the end of this conversation, I want to talk to you about George Kutty's famous escape now. Now, there's a lot of good fortune that George Kutty needs to make his getaway. And it's very clever of you to acknowledge that even within the film itself, George Kutty himself seems to be aware of this, and he recognizes that, and you mentioned this in the film. How important was it for you to ensure that he does get away? Because even if he gets himself arrested on behalf of his family, he still pulled off a con job in a sense.
I don't know. The basic reason is, if I put him in jail in this story, I think there is two problems. One, I don't think people will like it.
Yeah, of course.
They all wanted.
They're not going to look at
the
it
first
as a
question
happy
when I announced this sequel, people were asking two questions.
Right.
Will they find the body? Will George Kutty be in trouble, or will he be in jail? That's the two questions people were raising. So one, as a hero, that's in that there's a dialogue he's saying that the hero should escape.
Of course.
People don't like to see the hero is going into jail.
Yeah.
But then the Vinendra is asking the question, but hero is also doing, he's guilty, right? So he should be punished. But his life is actually his own life is his punishment, right?
Punishment. Jeethu, the reason I ask you this is, in this film itself, there's so much talk about two climaxes. He keeps talking about it within the film. There is a different climax for the book, and for the film, he's talking about bringing in something else. If you had written this as a book, do you think you would have gone with the first climax? Or did you also wrestle with this idea?
No. If it was a book, my climax will be he'll be going to jail to save his daughter. Unfortunately, a lot of investments is involved in this cinema, in this film. I have to make sure that the audience should be happy.
I understand.
And then there is one more thing, sir. Actually, that family, a boy came into, all of a sudden they came into this family, and he did something which no person can support that character, because
yes,
he tried to molest that girl, and after he's changing his mind that if your mother, if you are ready, I will say I can
I can shift my objective.
Correct. So that's why I put that character in that kind of the thing, because every ladies after watching that film is, what a bloody, that kind of the women were very furious against that character. So, and it happened accidentally, and in the Malayalam version, that girl was trying to hit the mobile. Actually, it accidentally happened. She has no intention to kill them. And now all these years they are suffering. That entire family is suffering. They are living in that's enough, right?
And even after the events of this film, they will continue to suffer.
Suffer, yeah.
Yeah.
That trauma will be there for, especially for that girl, elder girl. It's a lifelong trauma.
It's interesting you bring this angle of sexual abuse into our conversation now. I remember that there was some criticism about the first part, about how these women are, how it propagated the idea that women should be worried about these videos, and they feel like victims in a sense, right? About how they feel a sense of shame, and Meena's character is constantly asking her to be within the house, and that sort of thing is happening. So there was some questions about why even one parent is not telling that girl it's not her fault, it is not your fault, it is okay. But in this film, many of those angles seem to have been rectified, because it appears that George Kutti is now in a space where he's offering more parental support. He's encouraging her to sleep alone, and he's taking her to therapy, and that sort of thing is going on. I wanted to ask you if Jeethu paid any attention to these critiques, or is this George Kutti evolving as a father himself?
In the first version, there is no scenes like that. That family is restricting that daughter after that. Don't go outside. You should. There's no scenes like that in the first. It's not there. There are no restrictions. What so many people ask me, is it that much? It's such a big issue that somebody took a naked video.
Yeah.
Maybe she can say, or the family can say, okay, you go and publish. We are with my daughter, and nothing is going to happen. That kind of support. Maybe we can give it to this thing. That thing was there. And few girls asked me, is it such a big issue? A girl's naked video has been shot, and he's blackmailing, and the girl is going to fall for that this thing. Then what I told them is, that's why I put this story in a village backdrop.
Yeah.
They are very conservative. There are people, see, maybe I am very tough. I can handle this situation. There are people who can handle this situation. They think, especially coming from a very orthodox Christian family background, they have been fed with a lot of this kind of.
I understand.
So that's why I put this entire story happening in an interior village of Kerala.
No, I understand your perspective. I guess it takes us to a different conversation then. It is about then the authenticity of what happens in a story and its setup and how their characters are supposed to behave, as opposed to the power of film as a medium, right? When you have like a big actor playing in a a role in a film, and when there are a bunch of people who are consuming this art form. Now, what ideas does this end up planting in their heads about the nature of that sort of thing? I guess it must be a very difficult role for you as a writer to balance social responsibility of making a film and being true to these characters.
Correct. And there's one more thing, sir. Suppose if that girl is very tough, and she can easily, and that family can easily handle, or they are tough enough to handle this thing. Suppose if they are saying, just go and I can use that word, and we are not bothered. You go and do whatever you want. Then there is no Drishyam, sir.
Of course. Right.
Then there is no murder. There is no Drishyam.
I think would it have taken away? I'm sorry, we are going on this long. If you mind it, do let me know so I can move on to something else. Would it have been so wrong for, say, for example, the father later in the first film, or whenever, maybe during a quiet, vulnerable moment, to put his arm around the shoulders of this girl and say, this whole sexual thing was never your fault. Nobody is blaming you for it. This was entirely the boy's fault. You are not in the wrong at all. Would it have been? I mean, do you think that would have sorted out these sort of criticism? Do you think?
Yeah, if there is one scene like that, definitely I don't think this criticism ever come up.
Right, and it would not have taken away from the film.
Maybe I really missed it. Actually, I was thinking about his desperation to cover this thing.
Right. Right.
Actually, yeah, correct.
Hmm.
Maybe a small scene if you had, and no, then definitely this critics actually would not want raise this question.
I mean, it is very large-hearted of you to acknowledge it now and accept it
Correct,
also.
correct.
Thank you so much for that. And Drishyam, above all, is a writer's film, isn't it? I mean, I ask you this because among the other aspects of Malayalam cinema today, there is a lot of emphasis on the craft of how it's shot and how it's made and how the music is and everything. Are you happy with the execution of these technical aspects of Drishyam too, or do you think the COVID restrictions also played a part in it looking fairly
Of
functional?
course, COVID restriction played a small part in this thing. Actually, Drishyam 2, we want the audience to concentrate on the reactions, not on the frames. So basically Drishyam 2 is a script-based film. Emotions, performance were important. But when we were shooting memories, we need both. Even the frames were also framing were also very important. So I am happy with the way we executed this thing so far.
Okay.
Because it is in no way distracted or no way it affected the emotions or the feelings of that film, right? Because people are still enjoying.
So you're saying like beautification of these, I mean, you call it beautification in a sense.
Correct.
Right? And you're saying it would have taken away from the core emotions of the film had you paid more attention to the technicalities.
Correct.
Right. Okay. I understand that the Telugu remake of this film has already been confirmed. And each film, of course, it's fascinating how each film has treated the protagonist slightly differently to suit the sensibilities of their respective regions. Did you ever have to consider these variations when writing the second film, or were you only thinking about George Kuti in the Malayalam?
I'm not thinking about the remake possibilities. I didn't thought about it at all. First, let me make a good film in Malayalam, then I will think about
then we'll worry about adapting. Right. As a final, more than a question, I think I want to share one comment with you. I saw this in one of the interviews that you'd given a Malayalam channel. One person said that that he is very thankful that you decided to become a director and not a criminal.
Actually, a lot of people are talking like that, and I told them, so, yeah, maybe if I couldn't come to the film, if I was not successful, and maybe I'll become a professional killer or something. I don't know. You can't say, right? There is a chance. I was just joking. Because I wasn't brought.
No, I know you were just joking, obviously. Yeah. Jeethu, as a final question, what are the possibilities for a third film? Are you even thinking about it now, or are you just thinking if it happens, it happens, but you're not close to it?
Yeah, that's how it is. If it happens, it happens. Because after finishing the first, but I am not going to say that it's there is no third or there is a third, because after the first I said no second. Then I come up with
and here we are talking for an hour.
Then made second version. But there are a lot of possibilities is there. I don't know. I would be able to build a third, and I have a climax for third.
Oh, how wonderful. Okay.
Yeah, I have a climax, but I don't know. I could build and work towards that.
In fact, I wanted to ask you.
If I could, there will be a third.
Right. In fact, one of the things I wanted to ask you was, can George Kuti ever find true peace? Can he ever find that? But I guess I may end up spoiling the climax of the third film for you, if you were to answer it.
Actually, this is my answer. A small smile. That's it. I'm not going to comment on this thing.
Fantastic. Thank you so much for this very insightful conversation, Jeethu.
Thank you.
Thank you so much. Bye.
Thank you.